Okay, so picture this. You walk into a program that's designed to completely change your life. Maybe you're a parent, or you're looking for a job, and you're just trying to get your confidence back and find some steady work. This isn't just some hypothetical. It's the daily reality for thousands of people. And for the small, really dedicated teams running the programs meant to help them. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and see exactly what that looks like from the inside.
So, this is the promise. It's written right there on the first page of the Higher Expectations Participant Handbook, which is a local workforce development program. That is a really powerful statement, right? It's a huge commitment made to every single person who walks through their door.
So how do we know all this? Well, we got our hands on a collection of real internal documents. We're talking meeting notes, performance reports, hiring plans, even public announcements. And when you piece them all together, they tell this bigger story, a story about the gap between a program's powerful mission and the tough reality on the ground.
All right, so to really understand the whole picture, we've got to start at the foundation. The program's really thoughtful design and this deep sense of purpose that drives everything they do. This slide right here, it reveals so much about the program's DNA. This isn't just any old job description. It's from an internal hiring document for an education specialist. It shows they're not just looking for a teacher. No, they're looking for someone who can actually build trust and connect with adults who are juggling, immense responsibilities in their lives.
And get this, it goes even deeper. The hiring document actually requires candidates to create a lesson plan based on these 3 steps: purpose, process, and reflection. So this isn't about just throwing information at people. It's about making it meaningful, connecting it directly to a person's own life goals. What this tells us is that the intention behind this program is incredibly thoughtful and really, really people-focused.
But, a great plan is one thing. Actually making it happen day in and day out, well, that's a whole different story. This is where we shift from the program's big ideas to the tough reality of just keeping the lights on.
So these are little snippets from meeting notes between the program manager, Jermaine, and the director, Andrea. And just look at the dates in November 2025. They're constantly meeting, they're reviewing plans, talking about staff training, handling invoices. It's a non-stop operational cycle.
And you can just see the complexity here. This isn't just about teaching and coaching. It's about county reports, budgets, tracking attendance, coordinating all these different assessment and training programs. It's like this machine with a dozen moving parts, and it's all being managed by a very small team that's trying to fulfill that huge mission we saw earlier. So with all this incredible effort and this really thoughtful design, what are the results? This is where the central tension of our story really comes into focus. Let's just ask the critical question, right? After all the planning, all the meetings, the whole daily grind, is the program actually succeeding at its ultimate goal of getting people into jobs? Okay, let's look at the data from their end-of-year performance metrics. The program enrolled 60 people. And hey, that's a strong start. That's 60 individuals who raised their hands and said, yes, I'm ready to do the work.
But then we see the first major challenge. Of those 60 people who signed up, only 24 made it all the way through to the end. That's a 60% drop-off. It just shows you how incredibly difficult it is for participants, who are often balancing childcare, housing, and all sorts of crises, just to stay the course.
And here it is, the final, most stark number. Of the 24 who completed the program, only 7 were placed into a job. 7 out of 60 who started. That is an enormous gap between the mission and the actual outcome.
And this chart just visualizes that funnel perfectly. You start with this wide pool of 60 hopeful people. It narrows down to 24 who complete it, and then, finally, just to 7 employed individuals. This visualizes the immense challenge these frontline programs are facing every single day.
But hold on, the story doesn't end there. Just as this local program was grappling with these numbers, something was happening at the state level that could change everything. So let's zoom out one last time. $3 million. That's the amount of funding the New Jersey Department of Labor announced was available through a special grant program. Now, for a small community organization, this is a potential lifeline.
The money comes from something called the CARE Grant, and according to the state's press release, it is specifically designed to fund community organizations doing outreach and education to help underserved workers, which is exactly the kind of work Higher Expectations is doing.
I mean, when you put them side by side like this, the alignment is just undeniable. On the left, you've got the core mission of Higher Expectations. On the right, the focus of the state's CARE Grant. It's almost a perfect match. The state wants to fund exactly what this program is struggling to do. Okay, so now let's bring these two stories together, the internal struggle and this huge external opportunity. Because when their timelines converge, that's when we see the real dilemma.
Look at this timeline. It's wild. On November 18th, Andrea and Jermaine are having one of their routine meetings, dealing with reports and invoices. But just a few days before, the state announced the grant. And the deadlines are incredibly tight. The interest form is due in 2 days, and the full application is due the day after that. So while they're stuck managing the daily grind, a massive opportunity with this tiny, tiny window is flying right past them.
And this brings us to our final question. What could a grant like this, maybe $100,000, $200,000 do for a program like Higher Expectations? How could it change the outcome, not just for the next 7 people who find a job, but for the 53 others who started with hope but are still out there searching? That's the question at the heart of the Frontline.